Okay, thank you. We do have a quorum today, so we'll call to order the Board of Nurses meeting. We do not have an on-site packet. We do have some revisions to the board agenda. If you look, it's based on the things we need to cover today for unfinished business. We will remove do you have a motion to amend after we, okay. So, I'd like to remove the, cybersecurity audit update, some unfinished business. End of life licensing software, the 5-year combined statute and regulation review. And the nominations committee discussion. So I would like to remove those today if possible. And then for new business, we will remove the board retreat discussion. But I would like to add in continuity of operations discussion for new business. We will also have an executive session at 10 a.m.
Madam President, I move to approve the agenda as amended.
I'll second. Moved and seconded. Any discussions? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you. For announcements, we'll just quickly note that we'll remind attendees today that public comment will not be accepted at today's meeting. We appreciate your cooperation in maintaining decorum and ensuring that the meeting proceeds without disruption. I will also note for all here that we have had one board member resign. It's reasonable to anticipate additional resignations after the meeting today, but I'll just leave it at that. Great, so we will move any consent item agenda. We do not, okay. So we will move to, sorry, I skipped over approval of minutes. We have 2 minutes to approve. They were in your board packet. We'll start with December 10th, 2025, the last full board meeting. Give everyone a moment to review, and when someone's ready, take a motion.
Madam President, I move to approve the minutes from December 10th, 2025 board meeting as written.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed, no. Motion carries. Sorry. And then we have our meeting from January 30th, 2026. Those minutes were also in your packet. Yeah, I'll give a moment to review. I'm ready to take a motion.
Madam President, I move to approve the minutes from the January 30th, 2026 special board meeting as written.
Field second. Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Any abstentions? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you. I'm sorry, I neglected before we started here. I do want to take a moment to welcome our new general counsel for the Board of Nursing, Nicole Turner, and Jordan Akins.
Okay.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, so we will move to our agency reports, and we'll start with our executive administrator, Carol.
Okay, thank you, Madam President. You have mine in your packet. It's kind of changed a little bit, but anyway, you have it. The majority of my time has been spent following legislation. It's been changing on a very rapid key. But anyway, that's pretty much what I have done. I did go to mid-year, and the upcoming NCSBN meetings are listed as part of that. So if anybody sees any that they want to attend, just let us know. Couple of other things that are not on there. I did put this on all of you, just to wish you National Nurses Week. And this one's kind of special because this poem that is in here is written by a retired nurse. And it's really great. You know, she's reflecting on being a nurse, and I think it really speaks to her, how proud she is to be a nurse. And so we wanted to share it with you. It will be in our newsletter. So you'll see it in there also. But I used to work with her, so I do know her. And she's a very, very unique person. So it's great. Okay, the next thing you have in your packet that has to do with me is my notice of retirement that is effective April 10th. And you do have the press release in there. We just need your okay that that's how you want it to send to the governor's office and get it released. So that's something that you need to do. And just thank you for everything. That's all I have.
I'd like to thank you for your dedication and support that has been unwavering and will be missed.
And I'd also like to say thank you for upholding the profession of nursing and the integrity of that profession.
So much.
We need a motion to,
You probably, yeah.
To approve the press release, we would like the board to approve it, just so it's, since it's a message, yeah, public.
so this is just on our stations today, so if everyone wants to take a moment to review. Have any additions that is noted, otherwise we take a motion.
Madam Chair, I move to regretfully accept the press release with Carol's request. As written.
I will simply second that.
Moved and seconded, any discussion? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
No. Motion carries.
Madam President, I'd like to take a minute to congratulate Carol on an amazing career in what you've done for the profession of nursing. And I think you deserve a round of applause from everybody in the room.
Thank you. That's all I have. Next, call to you, is it?
Okay, thank you, Madam President, members of the board. Adrian Guerrero, Director of Operations. You have my report in your packet. We, as you might imagine, we've been busy this quarter over at the legislature, but we did manage to get a few items accomplished during this time, including 2 positions that are posted right now. We have one for an RN investigator and then a senior administrative assistant in our education department. I think we're actually going to be doing some interviews here relatively soon. So that's available on the website. Likewise, we're doing a lot of work with the information security processes. We didn't do an official update of the legislative post audit because that's pretty much done at this point, but we're continuing on with our basic processes that we need to do yearly. So we are working on that. Let's see, and then the licensing software updates. we're well into the phase 2. We've rolled out Evoke, and I'm sure Linda's gonna give some updates from her side of things, but appreciate all the staff and everybody who's been working on that project. We did have a little case study done. It's obviously very new, but our software vendor wanted to highlight somebody that's went through the journey of migrating a portion of it, and so that's what we've done. And then we've had a lot of updates on our KSB and Information Center. Thank you, Andy and Colton and everybody, Carol, for the work that they've done on this. I think it's something that's actually been very beneficial and probably something we'll keep going forward, just so that we have a location for, you know, notices, press releases, those sorts of things. So we have that available. And that's pretty much my report, other than to say, you know, our state's motto is ad astra per aspera, which is to the stars through difficulties. And, you know, that it probably is more true now than it has ever been, at least for our agency, but I do feel that we will have a path forward. We are organizing ourselves to do the will of the powers that be. And I think that, you know, we're gonna be strong and we'll get through it. That's it.
Questions for you? You even. I'm gonna move down the line next to Rand for licensing.
Sure. I don't have a lot for you guys. You have all of the licensure data. As you can see in the report, the numbers are positive, they're going up, which was to be expected because of all of the December grads. I think next board meeting will have even more, because of our, summer class graduating. The one thing that I did include in the packet was the APRN clinical hour form that we did finally, Colton and Carol, we got together and finally got that done. So that we can, for the APRN out of state, programs, they can send this form in, to make sure that they meet their requirements. So I finally got that done. I think I have been talking about that for like the last 3 board meetings, so. That is up on the website, and we've gotten some really good feedback on it, and it's being sent to us, so that's good. Other than that, I don't really have anything for you. Do you guys have any questions?
I do. How will the reduction of board members affect this process?
Which process exactly?
The getting them taken care of, the nurses, the new graduates taken care of as quickly as possible. Will that impact that area?
So I don't think that there will be any change as I have spoken to my team throughout the whole time, and licensing as of today is going to stay. We don't have any plans to leave. However, that could change. Obviously, you know, with the situation changing the way that it is, I have spoken to the staff, and I don't blame the staff if they don't want to stay. But, right now, they, would like to continue to stay on. What will affect licensing is if applications need to be sent over to the investigative division for review. Or even if, you know, right now, Carol and I probably need to have a discussion because Carol reviews some of my APRN information. Most of that, there's a lot that I can look at, but, you know, there are gonna be some holes in, you know, approvals for certain things that we're gonna have to figure out. So there could be a delay. Which, you know, if I have to have approval that's higher than me and I don't have someone higher than me. You know, there could be delays. You know, just like Adrian, you know, ever since I came back to the Board of Nursing in this role, the legislative session has changed something every year. So we are very well aware that something in our process is gonna change. It has never been like this. It has never been to where we have to implement the changes so quickly, and the changes are so broad over our process, over our license system, our communication. So this is definitely gonna be the trickiest one. But I don't know. It's just that the situation is evolving so fast and has changed so fast that yeah, I will say that I continue to have continuous conversations with my staff to make sure that we're on the same page. Continuous discussions with Adrian and Carol so that we know, that we're, going continuous discussions with Linda and Janelle and their divisions. So the communication is good. It's there. We're trying. Like I said, it's just, the situation is just interesting. So, I'm sorry, that was a very long answer.
Oh, no,
I
I have another one too.
I would assume that there will be some delays
Okay.
that unfortunately,
Well, and I wanted
just don't know.
to highlight that. And the next thing is, considering the communication that is going to be needed, will we be alerting anybody to these delays that set in motion these things? I mean, is there a plan for them to, okay, here we go?
yeah, I mean, I would assume that we would, depending on what the final actions actually are, there's gonna be a lot of communication going out in terms of either delays or processing times or, because we're gonna have to account for that. Some of the things that they are asking us to do in the licensure department, I'm very fortunate. We're very fortunate because we're already doing them. It's a very fine-tuned machine. My fear is, and I can't really think about it too far ahead, but my fear is if I were to lose someone or I would to leave, it wouldn't be as great of a process. Someone else can do it, but, so yes, it would take time. So there have been a lot of things that I'm not too concerned about because like I said, the legislature changes something every year. We have to adapt to it. And we are doing that anyway. One of the main ones was the renewal within 5 business days. We're doing that typically within 3. We're licensing. If our last piece of information that we have, we're doing that within 3 days. We realize that, we're trying to get these people to work. We want them to work. But again, there are certain instances where if they have to report something on the application or, so I do expect some delays. Unfortunately, it may just be what it is. But yes, we will try to communicate that out.
One final thing. And I might have read it wrong because there's a lot to it. On 31 day, you have to pay $300.
So
Day 31?
the way that I understand it, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the way I understand it is you're gonna have your 2-year regular renewal.
Right.
Then you're gonna have a 30-day late renewal period. And then after that, you're gonna have to reinstate it. So that 30-day, whenever you're within that 30-day, it's 300.
I would like to point out that has not been the case when it has come before the board for late renewal. Okay, it was looked at, the details were meticulously looked at. And that was not the case, and I feel very sorry for those nurses because I think that was a detriment. I do, I think that backed us up.
Well, I mean, what's very interesting about that is you're talking $300 for a late renewal as opposed to $150 to reinstate. So, a lot of it doesn't make sense. And I will tell you that we have several nurses who take accountability and that will come to the office and say, I forgot, I just it slipped my mind, I knew I was gonna, you know, and we understand that. We're not perfect either. And we're more than willing to, they bring up their information. We say, get us the information. I mean, there are certain things about the Board of Nursing that we have tried to make it so easy. This is, on getting us the information so that we can process the application and process the license. Cause that's what we want. And we know they want to get back to work. So, a lot of this just really blows my mind because I think it's just, it's just kind of shocking because I feel like we've tried very hard to make the process easy and to get them back. So the late renewal is gonna be interesting.
Adrian, if I might make a comment on that, and I think we're gonna talk about that a little bit later on. The $300 is my understanding is actually the cap, and so I think the discussion needs to be had, correct me if I'm wrong. We are going to over communicate, if anything, the intentions. There is a tentative plan on how to address some of these. I will say that grace periods, although it's something that's a little bit foreign to us, it's not necessarily out of the norm for other entities, and so we will work through that process and make that occur.
We
to the
actually
best of our
have,
ability.
already had a lot of practice with that during COVID.
Right.
Renewal, were extended several times. So sort of a different that, now that they have to do a late renewal, but, and we're not opposed to it either.
And the legislation did change. Originally, it was gonna be up to 90 days, or I think there was even discussions of 6 months. The legislature made their decisions. And assuming that nothing changes, the 30 days is probably more a norm with the rest of colleagues and even on the national level. So was happy that all the parties in our discussions made this, and Andy's gonna be a little busy over communicating things, but that's what we're gonna, that's kind of the new motto. So we do have a tentative plan. It has been shared. We're thinking through obviously a lot right now, so it's more than likely gonna change before it's finalized, but
Can I just ask if, so as you say, like colleagues, other health professions,
Correct.
as they have allowed, because it was written into their statute as such, correct?
Correct.
Where it was not currently in ours. Okay.
that's my understanding. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
I think there was some,
Just want to be
Reference.
clear on that. So what, the processing was following the statute as it was written.
correct.
Thank you.
So, and then I would also like to just say thank you to you guys. I may not see some of you after this meeting. I just wanted to say thank you for your guidance and direction, understanding. You guys have been very supportive. So, yeah, do you guys have any other questions for me?
Thank you, Rayanne. I feel like you have come to these meetings with a lot of information, and we know that your team works really hard to ensure that people are licensed appropriately and quickly so that they can get into the workforce. So, thank you. Okay, I will move on around the table. Belinda.
Okay, you have my practice specialist report in your packet. The first chart that you'll see, applications requiring legal history review, this kind of goes with Audrey's comment. Back in 2020, we had done a study, and we were running around 55 days to process an application that was requiring investigative review for background or for answering whatever. And we did a study to figure out how we could improve things, and we got it down to 7 to 10 days on our side. And part of it was because we had investigative committee chairs who stepped up also, were reviewing weekly with us and things of that nature. It's been interesting over the course of the 5 years that I've been in this position, because we've gone from the 7 to 10 business days, and we're averaging now easily 15 to 20. And the number of cases that we're opening off of these applications that we have to review, that have to go to the committee chair, has almost doubled. And when I talk to nursing students in their programs, it used to be 2 or 3 in a classroom of 20 or 30 that would stop and ask me questions afterwards, and now I'm getting like half the class. So it just shows that the backgrounds of these young professionals coming into the nursing profession, they're significant enough to where we have to ensure that the public is gonna be safe under their care. And it takes a little bit of time to do that. How that's gonna affect us going forward, losing an investigative committee chair who can meet weekly is going to significantly delay those applications who they want it done now, today, because they filed their application and they want it done. And, you know, we're waiting on them sometimes to produce documents, and now we're gonna be waiting to make sure we have someone who can review with the disciplinary council to determine, do they meet qualifications to be licensed? That delay will more than likely go through and, you know, with Andy and with Adrian and Ray, I'll keep all of them informed. I have purposefully kind of like not kept up with the House Bill 2528 because it changed minute by minute. And my stress level can only go so high. And so I just thought, I'm just gonna wait. What falls out, and we'll deal with it at that same time. The team, 2 of my members are here. They've been instrumental in trying to just say, we're here, we'll do whatever. Like Ray, you know, I visit with my team, and at this point, I don't have any information that any of them are leaving. I also wouldn't hold it against them if they chose to. This next year with working with to implement EVO to its maximum capacity, which I need a board member, committee chair, committee members in order to be able to truly use that system. It's gonna take us a good year to really truly get everybody in, get them trained. We do have an opening for nurse investigators, and I have 3, but the questions that have been coming in and trying to get them to schedule for anything has been on the pay. And they want remote, and I can't guarantee either. So, because the state's pay, as you know, is just not great, but and the remote is not an option for 6 months while they're in probation. You know, during the pandemic, you know, we had a 12-month before, you know, probationary period, and during the pandemic, we dropped it to 6 months because we lost staff too, we were short, just like everybody else. So we're trying to do the best we can and make adjustments as we can. But like I said, so I gave you a little processing flow of kind of how applications, because it seemed like it was the kind of weird how it was being portrayed, and anything I say, it seems like it gets taken way out of context. So I just wanted to make sure this processing flow, this is how we do applications. This is not a complaint of unprofessional conduct. This is an application. They do not have a property right yet. This is an application that's trying to get the property right. So, just wanted to make sure that that is specific, because I know it will be misinterpreted. The next area is, complaint data. You know, we averaged 500 during the pandemic. I said 750 after the pandemic. So there's opportunities for education and going out and visiting with different conferences and things. We're still seeing an increase. Sworn complaints still remain about 20% over time. I had a high of 42% in 2021 and 17% in 2025. So it's varies. What else can I tell you? Significant investigations. Those are the ones with, you know, the significant, they're drug diversions, workplace impairments, and exploitation, financial and sexual and verbal and physical abuse. Those are ones that we really are trying to look at. We are drafting a complaint evaluation tool. I think I mentioned it in December. We had met with North Carolina Board of Nursing, and it incorporates a just culture model, and it kind of allows us to identify and provide a code, a score for, is it a harmless error, at-risk behavior, reckless behavior? I've learned more about this since December, and how North Carolina is using it, and you know, it's gonna be okay for some things, but it's gonna be difficult, like when we have a patient and a patient family or the public member complains, about a nurse's conduct, we don't get the information. North Carolina gets a lot of information in on their complaint. And so I'll be working with general counsel to see how we can modify a few things to where we can get more information at the time the complaint is reviewed. To see that we can make a true decision as to do we open a case or not. We did a trial of front loading a complaint is what it's called by Colorado, where we called to find out, could we get more information first before we open a complaint? We asked the facility if the facility was aware of this issue, the patient family was mentioning, they weren't aware of anything. So there's a lot of pieces that are missing in that puzzle to really truly understand whether we open a case or not. And a lot of those that come in from patient families are sworn and they want you to do something today. So it goes back to the cover letter, which I'll be visiting with general counsel again about that too, to see what do we send back out to the complainant? Because currently I've always been told we have no statutory authority to do so. And I've asked if the law is silent, can we do it anyway? Don't know, never got a response. So I'm hoping that I can work with general counsel now and we can get some better direction. So that's where we're at with that complaint evaluation tool. I'm hoping by June it can really truly be up and running. So I'm excited for it at least. It gives us better clarity. And then I can also work with facilities and things too, that they can use it on site to see, do they need to report, but they have the risk management statutes too. So, I mean, they have to go with what they have to go with as well. We did transition open records from myself to Andy, and that's going very well. That was one big piece off of my plate. You know, he still has questions and stuff, which I understand, but we meet as a team, a core team. There's 3 of us monthly at the minimum, sometimes more, just depending. And if he has questions, he asks. So that's going very well. The gateway system that we have in place for that, most people are using that. We do have a few that don't, but for the most part, that's going very well. So since the last board meeting, let's see, what else have I got for you? Well, like I said, the Evoke system. So we've been working with some of the applications. Requiring legal review to work them through Evoke, but I need an investigative committee chairperson to look at those. Once those can be done that way. I know Ruth, our Ruth nurse investigator is working them very well through that system. And so I just need to go in and do a double check and see if I can see any other glitches. We're working with Colton to come in and make sure we address those issues right away. The next steps were going to be to do board member training on that. So that would be on hold if I don't have board members. So, and I've assigned cases through the Evoke system, and investigators have started to work them through the reporting aspects of those things. I don't know yet because we don't have anything all the way through yet to know what I'm going to be able to pull from the system. We do for practice inquiries, we let's see, for one of the biggest issues with this was the certified professional midwife, and NARM, their national organization, has effectively, I think as of January 15th of 2026, has changed their rules. And to where we now can, as a regulatory agency, report to their national organization, whereas before we could not forward a complaint. It had to come from the party itself. So now regulatory agencies are able to do so, but we also put it on our website so that when we get a physician that calls in, you know, they can also go and call directly to them. So
Because we didn't have any authority.
we had no authority before that.
There
They
were some
changed the-
concerning things,
Mhm.
and it was, thank you so much.
Yeah, I think calling them and saying we needed a system, they looked at their system perhaps and changed a few things, so, which was good because it needs to protect the public better. So, and then the meetings and trainings, and I will say that I took, 3 of my nurse investigators completed the ICRS basic training for nurse investigators, and they really enjoyed it. And I also completed the introduction to administrative law on the NCSBN website, and I can tell you that was phenomenal. And I recommend it for every board member to take that. You will learn about the Administrative Procedures Act, you'll learn about your Nurse Practice Act, you'll learn about the Judicial Review Act. And some states, what I found ironic was some states, when they said, where's your citations for your Nurse Practice Act? It was block to block, while ours is in 3 different locations at the Revisor's Office and the Secretary of State's office. And it's very, very well that as a public person or a nurse, unless we pull out it and put it on our website in one document, I don't know that the nurses truly could find it. It was an interesting activity that I had to go and do. So I learned a lot. And Kansas can be better at being more transparent, I think. So that's one thing that we're looking at on our team, is to be consistent and transparent. But we'll see how things kind of come out. But, and I thank you all as well, board members.
Of course, I have questions.
We have had a lot of change in 5 years.
We have been making great changes. One of the struggles we had was we only had one attorney for how long?
3 years.
And cases got backed up. That was addressed as quickly as, hiring would allow. The investigation board members who would meet, still work full time, but would take their personal time off from work to ensure that we could protect the public and get these nurses back to work as quickly as possible. And the investigation team has worked with us on how late in the day can we squeeze it in, so that y'all aren't staying late, but we're not missing that much time from work. But we have made significant strides to changing with the board, with the team that we've had with Brenda Sharp and Ruth. We have made significant changes in how we look at things, still following the regulations we're bound to, and on advice of counsel on legal matters with that, because we're not attorneys. And our goal is to protect the public. And I think we have been doing amazing things. I'm very sorry that some of the things didn't meet with others' approval, and I wish that, that could have been looked at more of work with us instead of punish us, but and I probably should say that, but y'all know me by now. Drags through the brain, it's coming out the mouth. But I do appreciate everybody and everything you do. And I think it's a shame that all of the board members are being targeted when that wasn't the problem. You had a problem with how nurses were complaining because of having to go through the investigations and those outcomes. And I just think it's really unfair, because we have education, we have licensure, we have IB, we have nurse practitioners. We have a lot of different boards that had nothing to do with that. So that's my orders were. I'll shut it down.
Thanks, Audrey. There was a specific narrative that was told, and that's what was followed, so here we are today. So thank you, Linda, for that update. I do think I was trying to get through our staff reports. 2 minutes, so
I can do it.
is that done?
I
Okay, so let's do that quickly with Janelle, education.
I will make this quick, Madam President and members of the board. I don't think there's anything new in the report. It follows pretty much what we've been doing, but I did want to mention there have been a couple of changes that are significant because we've had a couple of programs that have been on significant review. So Donnelly College, which has come before you before, they have a new administrator, someone with some experience. So that is probably good for them. The person they had as interim stayed as their ADON. So I think a little teamwork, they're working on their program now. Mid-America College of Health Sciences has a new director of their OPN program that's up near Overland Park. They also have a new director. Natalie Roberts Wilner, took over as, she was a faculty member, but also has experience in education, so she's taken over as their director. Emporia State University had a great little announcement. They have a grand opening of their new nursing and student wellness center on their main campus. Their nursing program has always been housed near the hospital, so this is for them, I think, a big win. The new facility, they'll be able to work with the student wellness center. I think they're gonna have a wellness center with staff with a nurse. So there'll be some opportunities for that in their nursing program as well. And along with that, the person who's been serving as their director has stepped down. I think she's been serving as interim, and actually Caitlin Haddock is also going to be an interim, but she is the new interim for Emporia as this change is happening. So she was here yesterday. We got to greet her. Hutchinson Community College is our other director change. Allison Casebowl has been the director for the ADN program, is now going to be the director for both their ADN and PN. They're on two different campuses, so she will have someone who will be a coordinator position on site at the PN, but she will have the direct responsibility for both programs now. So those are the big changes for our nursing programs. I wanted to admit I am behind on our faculty qualification reports. I think some of that will be changing with the new laws. So without an assistant, sometimes you don't realize how much they actually do to keep you going. So I am a little behind there, but working on catching up. I think one of the things I wanted to point out, it's not a big deal here. I may follow up with what happened in their survey, but we got asked to respond to a survey on out-of-state clinical restrictions. It's something I've talked with, I think both Amy and Ruth about. I don't know going forward. We don't have any regulatory oversight for out-of-state programs. We have a lot of people coming in to do clinical and taking clinical sites and paying for clinical sites, and it's affecting our programs. And I got to go to NCSBN mid-year meeting, and it was great. I got to talk to a lot of other educators and some very specific things about how they handle out of state. So some ideas coming forth from there. And I think that's the significant takeaway from that. We're continuing with the LMHT task force. We've got some significant things to do, and we're just keep going. So any other questions, I'd be glad to answer.
Just for clarification, so faculty qualification requirements, so there was some leeway previously in terms of if a school wanted to apply, but it was then
Yeah.
monitored based on their NCLEX results, et cetera, so that if there was a issue found, that could be followed up.
You know, we've always followed up with, we've always had a way for them to hire the faculty that they feel they need. It's the director's responsibility to, even if they don't meet the qualification, the regulation, to do the higher exception or the degree plan. We've allowed both. Our regulations are a little gray on it. It really looks like per our regulation that only applies to clinical folks. And since COVID, we've had a lot more doing higher exceptions for those that teach in the classroom. So that's been a question we have to address. I think it will change the process in that with the one level above, we have a significant number of degree plans and higher exceptions from both the ADN and the BSN level, because a master's degree, but primarily a clinical need. But I have been seeing more higher exceptions at the ADN level for faculty, you know, for both didactic, and now they won't be required to do the higher exception for the degree plan. So we'll still be able to, we still track. We'll still get the FQR. That's a requirement that they submit an FQR for any new faculty. So we'll still be able to kind of follow and monitor what educational level they have. So we can still look at percentage of MSN prepared faculty, BSN prepared faculty, along with pass rates. So that won't change in terms of the process we have. It's just that it does cut down on some of the paperwork or the rationale that they need for hiring. That's kind of been there. So we may have to find some other ways. That's a discussion the committee and boards will have to have in terms of how our regulations change to monitor or to be in line with what the statute says, but also to make sure that we're doing our due diligence in terms of monitoring the process. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Any other? Okay. Yeah, I think you hit your time and I pushed you over with my. So we're good. Okay, so the question now, we can move to executive session. Do we know how much time?
15 minutes.
15 minutes.
I've always found you might want to add 5 to that.
Why don't we
For
say 20
questions.
minutes? I think, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So that would
So you
be
don't have to get that.
putting us back here at 10:25.
Madam President, I move that the board recess to executive session to discuss the ethical limits of representation from the board's general counsel. The justification is for consultation with an attorney for the public body or agency which is deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship. We require Carol Moreland, the executive administrator, Adrian Guerrero, director of operations, Robert Hutchison, deputy attorney general, Lisa Mendoza, first assistant attorney general, Nicole Turner, Assistant Attorney General, and Phil Atkins, Assistant Attorney General, to be admitted to the executive session to aid in the board in their discussions. The open meeting will resume in 20 minutes at 10:25 on this Zoom meeting at 900 Southwest Jackson Street, room 509, Topeka, Kansas 66612.
The motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Any abstentions? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed, no. Motion carries. Perfect. Just like, up here. Okay, thank you. So, we will come back in session. I've been told that we are letting our voices shrink in, and so we need to make our voices carry for the recording and for all in the room. So apologies for that. We will improve for the rest of today. And I needed to call us back in session because we were in executive session, but we actually are gonna take a 10-minute break or
Great.
a break. So, we will, have a break. Let's just make it until, 10:40. And then we will come back in session. Okay?
Okay, we'll be back.
Okay, so thanks. We will come back in session. And we will move to committee reports. We will start with the education committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have several, but not as many as some meetings, we had several motions to go through. So I'll start with, the first, it was moved to approve the consent item agenda, which includes nursing education staff report, education complaint log, 2026 site visit schedules, petition to test retest summary for 11/8/2025 through 2/20/2026.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I will talk louder.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I second Michelle Terry.
Thank you. Any discussion? Any abstentions? Motion carries.
It was moved to accept the reapproval site visit report with recommendations for Neosho County Community College ADN program and recommend approval for the time period of national accreditation.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Belinda Katz. You. Any discussion? Any abstentions? Motion carries.
It was moved to accept the focus site visit report for Fort Scott Community College ADN program with recommendations and to return the program to full approval through the period of national accreditation and be allowed to admit in the fall with up to 20 students annually.
The motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
You. Any discussion? Any abstentions? Motion carries.
It was moved to accept the reapproval site visit report for Johnson County Community College PN program and reapprove the program for 5 years.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
You. Any discussion? Any abstentions? Motion carries.
It was moved to accept the major curriculum change request from Benedictine College VSM program to 1, increase NURS 4900 synthesis from 1 to 2 credit hours, and number 2, decrease NURS 4600 professional nursing leadership from 3 to 2 credits.
Okay, I have to stop you because I just actually carried all those through without even asking for a vote.
Oh,
Let's go ahead and finish this one out. We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second. Belinda
Thank you. Any discussion? Any abstentions? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed? No. Motion carries. So I apologize. You thought it was gonna be shorter, so I just
It's
wanted to
okay.
extend it out for you.
Okay, do I need to reread each motion? Or can I just say the first motion that was approved by myself and then Terry?
Can you give us some context of what it
Okay.
is? How about? And then that would be
Okay.
great.
Okay, the first motion was to move the consent agenda items, the staff report, education complaint log, petition, and site visit schedule.
Thank you. And we had a motion and a second. All the others, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed? No. Motion carries.
The next was the Neosho County Community College site visit report and recommendation for approval through the time of national accreditation.
Thank you. We had a motion, and can you tell me who seconded?
Katz.
I'll give anyone a moment for a comment. Any discussion? Any abstentions? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed? No. Motion carries.
The next was Fort Scott
Actually,
Community
yeah.
College.
Yep.
That was for a focus site visit with recommendations to return the program to full approval through the period of national accreditation and be allowed to admit in the fall with up to 20 students annually.
Thank you. We had a motion and
Burkhart,
Burkhart seconded. Thank you. We didn't have any discussion or abstentions. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed? No. Motion carries.
The next was Johnson County's PN program for reapproval for 5 years. Fields was the second.
Thank you. No discussion, abstentions. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed? No. Motion carries. Okay, we're back on track. Thank you. My apologies.
It was moved to accept the major curriculum change request from Hutchinson Community College PM program to remove nutrition as a required prerequisite course and add medical terminology, retire PN 119 pharmacology course at 2 credit hours and move content into PN 110 foundations of nursing course, increasing foundations from 4 to 5 credits. Increase PN 108 maternal child nursing from 2 to 3 credit hours. Retire PN 107 nursing care of the aging adult 2 credit hours. And add PN 121 community health for 2 credit hours. The overall didactic hours will remain unchanged at 47 credit hours.
There's a motion. Do we have a second?
Michelle Terry, second.
Any discussion? Any abstentions? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
It was moved to accept the major curriculum change request for Salina Area Technical College ADM program to change NUR 220 complex care of the adult from 7 didactic and 3 clinical credit hours to 8 didactic and 2 clinical credit hours. The course will remain at a total of 10 credit hours.
Motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Any abstentions? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed, no. Motion carries.
It was moved to accept the major curriculum change request for Salina Area Technical College ADN program to change NUR 230 leadership and management from face-to-face and hybrid methodology.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Any abstentions? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed, no. Motion carries.
It was moved to accept the major curriculum change request for Emporia State University BSN program to change clinical ratios from 1 to 4, 50 contact hours per credit hour to 1 to 3, 37.5 contact hours per credit hour ratio. This will decrease their overall clinical hours from 750 to 564.
Motion, is there a second?
Michelle Terry, second.
Any discussion? Any abstentions? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed, no. Motion carries.
It was moved to accept the major curriculum change request from the WSU Tech PN program to add 10 seats annually to support a high school pathway to Goddard High School with a satellite facility at the high school for WSU Tech.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second. I think she's.
Any discussion? Any abstentions? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed, no. Motion carries.
It was moved to accept the major curriculum change request from the WSU Tech LPN to RN Bridge program to add an additional 10 seats annually beginning summer 2026.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second Ms. Barker.
Thank you. Any discussion? Any abstentions? All those in favor say yes. Anyone opposed, no. Motion carries.
It was moved to accept the major curriculum change request for Mid-American Nazarene University to add a new track in the existing Master of Science in Nursing MSN program that will lead to a direct entry Master of Science in Nursing DE-MSN with a focus on leadership and increase annual admission capacity by 50 students from 180 to 230 annual for all tracks.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Michelle Terry, second.
Any discussion?
I'd like to say I'm really happy they're opening more seats. That's all the discussion.
Any abstentions? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed, no. Motion carries.
It was moved to accept the major curriculum change request from Newman University BSN program to revise the mission, vision, philosophy of nursing program to better align with the updated program. Updated prerequisite requirements, revise the curriculum to align with the 2021 AAC and essentials, which includes separating didactic from clinical experiences and creating separate courses for clinical. Clinical hours will go from 720 hours to 675 hours. Adjustment to credit hours in 12 courses with addition of 5 new courses and changing 3 courses to a hybrid delivery methodology. These changes will decrease the nursing credit hours by 1 from 60 to 59, but the overall program credit hours will remain at 120. They will also revise all course descriptions and the course objectives to align with the curriculum updates.
You have a motion, is there a second?
Second, Ruth Gerhart.
You, any discussion? Any abstentions? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed? No. Motion carries.
After review of the NCLEX PN and RN reports, it was moved to direct the nursing education compliance officer to number one, send letter with notice to seats admissions to Mid-America College of Health Science PN program for 3 years below NCLEX standards. The last three pass rates have been 47%, 63.9%, and 62.9%. The site visit is already planned for April 2026. Request to update pass rate improvement plans for WSU Tech ADN program for a second year below standard, and send a letter of concern from the board for 1 year low pass rate to WSU Tech PN and Ottawa University BSN programs.
I have a motion, is there a second?
Well, the cat second.
Any discussion? Any abstentions?
I abstain.
Here, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed? No. Motion carries.
It was moved to reapprove the PN, ADN, and BS programs on full approval status from 1/1/2026 through 12/31/2026.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Michelle Terry, second.
You, any discussion? Any abstentions? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed? No. Motion carries.
It was moved to reapprove the conditional approval status of Donley College ADN and PN programs, Mid-America College of Health Science PN program, and Seward County Community College ADN programs from 1/1/2026 through 12/31/2026.
We have a motion, is there a second?
I'll second. You.
You, any discussion? Any abstentions? All those in favor say yes. Anyone opposed? No. Motion passes.
This committee of the KSBN has completed an environmental assessment of the necessity of and potential revision or revocation of KSA 65-1119 Schools of Nursing, KAR 60-1-104 definitions, KAR 60-2-101 requirements for initial approval, and KAR 60-3-114 satisfactory completion of a refresher course. It was moved and a recommendation made to the board that there is no need for legislative changes to these statutes and regulations at this time. It was proposed to review these statutes and regulations again in 5 years unless there is a change in the healthcare regulation environment justifying an earlier review.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Well, second, Ruth Gerhart.
Thank you. Any discussion? Any abstentions? All those in favor say yes. Anyone opposed? No. Motion carries.
And that is my last motion. One other thing that I've been talking to Andy about, we had several great things that came before our board yesterday, our committee yesterday, one being the Goddard PN program with WSU Tech, the increased seats at Mid-America, that I'm gonna work on like a 5-point bulletin today. Oh, Andy's already drafting it for me. That I will approve, and I don't believe I need a motion to send this, but we feel that the legislators need to know these innovative things that we are doing, seats we are opening and programs to open workforce pipelines for nurses, and especially the Goddard and WSU Tech. That I think everybody in the room yesterday was very impressed with that. And doing something to get high school students interested and on their way towards an LPN degree before they graduate high school is remarkable. So we want the legislators to hear what we're doing. So unless you have a reason, I shouldn't work with Andy to send that. It'll be just a very quick 5-point bulletin. We do think down the road, the WSU Tech and Goddard High School deserves more attention and a story at some point, but at least getting something short out to them with what education just did in yesterday and today's time.
doesn't really follow the narrative that they're speaking these days, but maybe they'll read that update. So that was great to share.
I don't know what, excuse me, I didn't mean to. I don't know what programs they have now, but back in the day, you know, dark ages. There were a lot of, I got my nursing through the Army National Guard. I joined the military so that I could get my LP. But I had single mothers in the classroom with me who got stipend to go and daycare. And I don't know if Kansas has that, but if they'd like to increase the number of nurses, that is something that worked really well for South Carolina.
They're increasing numbers out.
Okay, thank you.
My only other report is I want to thank everyone in this room for all they've done to support the education committee and all members who have served on the education committee.
Right. We will move to the investigative committee report, Dr. Burkhardt.
Hello, everyone. It's been an honor to serve the last few months as the chair of the investigative committee, and prior to that, a few months actually on the committee. I appreciate also the work that we've done with Audrey Goldsmith and with another member, and thank you, Linda. Like I said, it's been an honor. I will say before I give my short report that the committee follows regulations. So we do not make decisions outside of that. And I think it's very important that that be made known because of the nature of the work that the committee does. Also that we prepare about 15 hours a week for quarterly meetings, and as chair, it's probably 5 to 10. And this is all volunteer, so I just really want to make that clear. I really do think it's an honor, but it's also a great deal of work, takes a lot of expertise. In terms of the meeting, we met on Monday. We did have an amended agenda with an additional speaker. We had a planned presentation by Dr. Peter Graham of Acumen Assessments regarding how the fitness to practice evaluation is done, some various components of that, some of the treatment services available. The fitness to practice is a forensic type evaluation, which can help determine a licensee's safety to practice. So Acumen works with judges, physicians, other states, multiple other states, and they have presented at the National Council of State Boards of Nursing conferences. As noted by Linda Davies in her practice specialist report, we now can report concerns regarding the certified professional midwife as different than the nurse midwife, and that we need to be very clear that we now have a reporting access to report concerns with that profession. The reporting information is posted on the KSBN website, and reports can be made directly to the National Association of Registered Midwives, which is NARM, by anyone, now also including regulatory agencies, and that change went into effect January 15th, 2026, and that concludes my report. Thank you.
Any questions for Dr. Burkhardt? Thank you, and thank you for all the time that you've given to the investigative committee. You as well. It's very, very much appreciated by this board.
We're very concerned that the balance that we have currently with our public member, Brenda, who brought so much to the table. I mean, and then Dr. Burkhardt with her expertise in the field of mental health. I'm just the practical. But that kind of balance is something that I hope they are able to find again. Because I really think that we've made improvements. And would love the opportunity to report that straight to the governor.
So next we have CME IV Therapy Committee. So I will turn this meeting over to Stephen. So that I can report on.
Yes.
I just started.
Yes, please.
Okay. We had an efficient meeting, tabled a few items just based on impact of statutes, regulations. There wasn't any need to review that we had planned for that committee until things are final, and that can be done in the future. So I will just move to elections. It was moved to approve the consent item agenda, which included Iowa statistical report, single providers approved to correct to 2026 annual Brian. This is Brian, but it's Brain. I'm gonna change that. Annual brain injury conference, that was a correction made, and then provider.
Motion, do we have a second?
I second.
Seconded, all those, any discussion? Any abstentions? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
No? Then pass.
Thank you for remembering the voting part. It was moved to approve the long-term provider 5-year renewal application from Community Healthcare System Inc. LT 0115-0516.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Go ahead.
With Burkhart, I'll second.
Motion's been seconded. Is there any discussion? Any abstentions? All those in favor, yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, no. Motion carries.
It was moved to approve the long-term provider 5-year renewal application from Corridor TCG Media Inc. LT 0270-0111 with recommendation reminder to put attendees license number on certificate and to be sure to keep all records of attendance for 2 years.
Is there a second?
Michelle Terry said.
Is there any discussion? Any abstentions? All those in favor, yes.
Yeah.
No. Motion carries.
It was moved to approve the long-term provider 5-year renewal application from Presbyterian Manners of Mid-America. LT 0246-0316 with recommendations that the following be submitted for review. These numbers that I'm listing are part of our evaluation metrics: 6E, 7A, 7C, 9E, and 13B, and extend approval until reevaluated in 2026.
Is there a second?
I'll second with Burkhart.
Any discussion? Any abstentions? All those in favor, yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries.
Thank you. That concludes my report for this meeting. I think you're.
Thank you, Andrew. I will hand the meeting back over to you.
And I will move to the APRN committee report provided by Vice Chair Dr. Hyde.
We had a very brief meeting, I think 17 minutes yesterday. We had, like your committee, tabled a few items that needed to wait until changes that might be occurring. And I do not have items to bring for motion or approval.
Okay. Well, thank you for having the meeting yesterday and for the update. I will move to practice committee.
The practice committee, there was a presentation by Tyler Technologies and demonstration of a generative AI tool to help handle practice inquiries. It appears they can define where the information is pulled from so that it only responds to requests from sources the board approves, i.e. within the website itself. That will not look anywhere else at all, just any information that is positive within the website itself for anybody that would like to pose any inquiry. There is a report of requests and a satisfaction or response that can be generated from that. So it was a really good presentation. Adrian helped facilitate that. I think it would be beneficial maybe to have the board look at that and for consideration for improvements and to help offload some of the work that is done by answering phones and certain inquiries, that it would be a 24/7 service. It looked very promising to me. But I also want to thank everyone for their time and their service on that, and committee, all the board members and all the committee members, and for Linda, for her staff, for the incredible amount of work that they do thanklessly. I do have one motion from that committee. It was moved that, this practice committee has completed an environmental assessment of the necessity of and potential revision or revocation of KSA 65-1113, KSA 65-1124, KAR 603102, KAR 6015-103. It was moved and recommended to the board that there is no need for legislative changes to these statutes and regulations at this time. It was proposed to review these statutes and regulations again in 5 years unless there is a change in the healthcare regulation environment justifying an earlier review.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Michelle Terry, second.
Any discussion? Any abstentions? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed, no. Motion carries.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Oh, so I will turn the meeting back over to you for finance. And we do not have any motions as a result of the finance committee. We reviewed current budget as proposed, something still pending, and we did table some items again for things that will change in the future. So licensing software update, more to come in June. And that really concluded the discussion of the finance committee. Thank you. Thank you everyone for your committee reports. We will move to unfinished business legislative update. And that over to you, Carol.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to let you know that House Bill 2478, which is a revision of the statute 74-1112, did successfully go through. It's been signed by the governor, and just as a review, that is so that we can do fingerprints and criminal background checks, both federal and state, for APRNs and RNAs. And we really wanted that, so it's a plus we got. Okay, so we will be talking to the KBI because then they have to submit it to FBI, and there's still a little bit more of the process, but it passed, so that's really good. I think due to the updates and everything that I've been giving, you're probably aware that House Bill 2532 didn't even get a hearing. That was the one that came out of the disciplinary task force, in which they made some changes that had been requested with the professional conduct, but it didn't get a hearing. So I guess you can have some discussion at some point if you want some of that next year. And then I think we've talked enough about 2528, and we'll be talking maybe a little bit more on how that's going to impact us. And then I don't think there's anything new on the House Select Committee on Government Oversight.
Does anyone have any questions?
I have one question for you, and I think more than anything, I want it to be on record. With 2528 specifically, does that put us at risk for the multi-state compact licensure? In your opinion?
Well, I will tell you, we went to mid-year, and I was part of the NLC commission meeting because I'm still the commissioner for a little bit longer here. But there was a lot of concern expressed about this whole voiding issue and the fact that those records then will not be available at all to these other member states. And I will just say there was a lot of concern. I don't know that it stops us. You know, we still have to work out, I think, the whole license expiration thing, that if they let KSBN work that out, we'll work it out. I will just say, I think there's maybe problems down the road with this, maybe not initially, but there's concern out there, but yeah, that's all I know.
Thank you.
I have a concern with members that have decided to go ahead and step away. Are we gonna have enough of a quorum to have our meetings?
I believe that's gonna be discussed in the continuity of operations that's been added to the agenda. I think there's gonna be a lot of discussion about some of that. So just hang on.
Got it.
Okay. So, I think we can just jump into, yeah. so-
Can I add one thing that I forgot to add to my report? Thank Ray for reminding me about this. I think it'll be pretty easy for the board to make a decision, but in the past, we used to print our license cards many years ago, probably all the nurses in the room probably have gotten them at some point. Back in, I don't remember when we switched, but it was well over a decade ago. We moved to where they can print the license online, gives the information, that sort of thing. Happy to announce that Ray, Colton, Tony, and our team at System Automation have also now created a way for them to print their wall certificate, which historically, you know, it was only given to new grads. Where now anybody can essentially go out and print their wall certificate and, you know, obviously they're gonna have to do some paper, but they could put it on, you know, colored paper or whatever if they want. So that's a nice enhancement that they work towards. And as such, with some of the need to have staff better focused on tasks at hand, we were proposing that we point everybody to that and rather than sending it via mail, which is basically the same thing. It's just a piece of paper that we send them. Now that it's available for free, 24/7. That would free up one of Ray's staff members from stuffing envelopes, stickers, mail, that sort of thing. To be able to print it off at their own will. So we just wanted to bring it to the board. I don't know if we need to wait until the next meeting and I can bring one down or if you just want us to go forward.
Trying to make sure I don't make a negative statement. I think that makes perfect sense to me. I think if anyone feels differently on this board, I think it can always be reviewed again at a later date. If it feels that puts the onus on the nurse to complete that step on their own. I think majority of nurses, I would assume, would be fine with that, and it would give, as you said, anyone an opportunity to complete that step for themselves, but if there's differing opinion from the board.
We also thought maybe we would just try to, it's a way for us to kind of, you know, cut out some fraud, because we're sending those.
For sure.
And
Yeah.
the nurses are not, and then they're moving and they're not updating their address with us, and so some of them do get sent back to us, but it's costly, it's timely, you know, and like I said, they're not updating some of their information, so we don't know where these things are, so, because we don't work for the mail.
And it truly is just a colored piece of paper that we stick in the
Yeah.
print and mail.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nothing very, I mean, it looks nice, but I think it's wonderful that we can do it for anybody now. I think way back when they actually used to charge like $25 or something like that. Where we don't do that, of course, now, but it's great for anybody to be able to do it, in my opinion. So either way, even if we continue to mail them, or it's still an option available for the public. Or for the licenses, rather.
It seems like you can amend your process to, as you're proposing. I don't know that that's anything that needs to be voted on by the board. If it's, again, if that's something that is changed and felt determined to be different in the future, then so be it. But I think that you provided good rationale for how you're gonna spend your time and how you're gonna change that process, so.
And I want to give kudos to the team and Ray and them, you know, we propose just to do this, even if we continue to do it. It's just another service that we can offer our licensed population and those that maybe want to get, maybe they lost theirs or something. I can use the example of my father-in-law who had a certificate of sorts for his profession and my wife, and then colored on it when they were kids, which has a special meaning to them, but it might be nice. Who knows what happens with people's lives, so they can just go get a copy if they want.
Is there a way, I mean, you said that we can print,
Mhm.
we can print the licenses out.
Yep.
Is there a way to print that so that it looked like one and print it out on a business card or something like the old licenses?
Yeah, it's actually kind of it has like a sort of a cutout or whatever you want to call it. Obviously, when they print the license itself, right now we've just added the license card and then the wall certificate to the same thing. It's a little bit of a limitation on our software, but we do have one little thing that we need to tweak to make it say print certificate too. And the team's gonna work on that, but we just literally got this done about 2 weeks ago or so. So it's real fresh and it slipped my mind with everything going on, so I apologize for not adding that to my report. I'll do it next time.
Yeah, I think that sounds like a nice upgrade.
Mhm.
Thank you. Okay, so we will move to, oh, sorry, I skipped over the KSB in actions.
Yeah, thank you. That would be me. I put for each of you, we want to do an updated action plan for our website. I think there's been a little concerned voice that we hadn't put one out there since January, and I guess my response to that is our actions have changed quite often based on what's been going on and stuff like that, but we would like to put this out there. And I just wanted to let the board look at it, see if you were okay with it, if there's anything else you want said, anything you want taken off. We just felt it was very important to bring in the first part, to say thank you. And just to point out that we have been a very active participant in responding to everything across the street. We haven't held out on anything. We've given them what they wanted. And been, in my opinion, very transparent with them, which is not always the case, going the other way. But anyway, just whatever your thoughts are on that. Whether you want something different, or because we put action plans like almost monthly out there, just to show what KSBN has been doing and everything.
Give everybody a minute to kind of read through the attachment, if anyone has any. No, so you just. I think it is, I believe that you tried to provide this update, Adrian, maybe at one of the meetings. A lot of work did go into, conversations, with NCSBN and the Nurses program to ensure that, people have to opt out versus opt in, which I think, makes a big change, down the road, to be able to utilize that system for those reminders. A reasonable number of reminders. Moving forward, I think a lot of good conversation. And part of that speaks to involvement of, this executive team with NCSBN, and the relationships are there for them to work with you to do that. So I think it is important to spotlight that moving forward so that everyone is aware. But also the piece about updating address changes. that piece does need to be, completed individually. This. Encourage you to keep updating the action plan so that people can see, all the steps that are being taken down the road as you. Spending a lot of time on these efforts. All right, we will then move to new business, which is continuity of operations. I turn this over, yes, to you, Nicole, to get us started. Okay,
Yes. Thank you, Madam President. So I'm Nicole Turner. I'm your general counsel along with Jordan Akins. We are relatively new to your board, but we recognize what you guys are going through right now and that we need to address some things potentially so the board can continue its functions and essential operations if that need arises due to other issues that are beyond our control as council or staffs. So what we are proposing today are several motions that would delegate authority to a smaller committee. And if a smaller committee of the board is not available, it would go to staff essentially. So there are several motions that we have drafted to address this. Some of them are, like I said, creating a essentially subcommittee of the board. We would like to have 3 members of that committee, and then we would have a contingency upon that. So if one member is there, you can still act without the majority needing to be present. And then also if there aren't any members present and things need to be done, staff can do that in the absence.
probably just if we speak up for, I don't know.
Oh, yep, sorry, I have a tendency to go quiet. Thank you. I need a reminder myself. There are also things that may happen in the day-to-day that the board does not necessarily get involved with, but staff does. So contract review, functions that other committees have that need to be continued, such as investigative committee, education committee, things like those functions. Being able to hire and delegate authority is needed in the absence of members of the board to take that action. Ensuring the compliance with HB 2528 in its final form, whenever that may be, and whatever that looks like. And then as well as being able to revise and promulgate any regulations that need to occur. If we're going through this and any of you think of something that may not be covered within the motions that we have drafted, please let me know and we can get that addressed while we're doing this. We don't want to miss anything if possible today. So please bear with us as there are several and some of them are lengthy, but we are trying to ensure protection of the board's functions moving forward. So does anybody have any questions for me before we kind of start this?
I think I just want to point out, this is getting to sort of your question, Adri, and, but this is a time when these motions are presented and we have a second, then we do have an opportunity for discussion. So, if you don't understand or this is a time if you feel like something is missing or you want clarification, like let's please take advantage of that at this time. So, we can hopefully check all the boxes that need to be done today.
Yes. Okay, so our first motion will be to create a committee. I'm kind of proposing the title just Operations Committee. Seems fitting right now because it's going to be all encompassing. So if there's another name you would like, please feel free. That's just my suggestion as I've been working through this. So whatever the committee or the board would like, and then from there. So I guess before we do the motion, do we have 3 members that are willing to serve?
I'll serve. Until I'm kicked out.
Yeah. Sure.
We have a third.
So can it be a committee of two?
It can.
Yes, it's us and you know.
Would like to chair that committee. Essentially, you would just run the committee and then, if there's anything specific that would need done as chair, you would have that ability, but we just want to have that already in place. So
chair.
It's gonna do rock, paper, scissors.
Oh, there we go. Feel free to have it.
No.
Mr. Peterson, are you ready for that one?
I think so. So Audrey, Ruth, and Belinda. Correct, and then Ruth. Chair. Okay, this is a three-part motion. I move that the board designate and delegate authority to the operations committee to perform functions necessary to ensure the continuity of the board's operations in the event there is not a majority of the board members present to conduct the business of the board. The members of the operations committee are Audrey Goldsmith, Ruth Burkhardt, Belinda Katz. I move that in the event that there are not enough board members present to conduct business as the operations committee, that Ruth Burkhardt be designated the chair of the operations committee and has the authority to act on the behalf of the operations committee. And I move that in the event there are not board members present from the operations committee to conduct the business of the operations committee, the director of operations is delegated the authority of the operations committee. The director of operations shall be delegated the authority to delegate tasks to board staff as necessary. Any decisions that would have required board or committee action shall be reported and ratified by the full board when a majority of board members are present to conduct business.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Michelle Terry said.
Any discussion? Okay, done. Any abstentions? All those in favor say yes. Yes. Anyone opposed? No. Motion carries.
Should be, can go on or again, more to say.
No, if you want to go on, go ahead.
I move that the board delegate the authority to the operations committee to review and approve contracts on behalf of the board. Or.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. This is I do have something on this one. So this is an optional one. You can either have the board delegate authority to the committee for all contracts. Or you can have staff review and approve contracts up to $5,000, which is kind of a threshold of if you hit that, you need further approval. And then anything above that is reviewed by the operations committee. So I'm kind of seeing heads about the 5,000.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, I personally, because we respect Dr. Burkhardt's time and we know the professionalism of the staff in place, so.
Because they would know more about it than we did.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So I move. Yes.
Yeah, no, you're.
Okay, I move that the board delegate authority to the executive administrator, director of operations, or interim executive administrator to review and approve all contracts up to $5,000. Contracts above $5,000 shall be reviewed and subject to approval by the operations committee.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second Belinda Katz.
Any discussion? Any abstentions? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed, no. Motion carries.
Highlight this one. This is gonna be a lengthy one, so bear with us, but this is
about the authority delegated to the investigative committee. One thing I want to make sure you all understand is the language of this motion. It does state it when Mr. Peterson reads it. But these delegations are not limited to what is listed. This is an illustrative list. So the functions that have been delegated to the investigative committee will go to the operations committee. What is listed is not the only functions, and it is clear that that is the case in the motion. I just want you all to be aware of that and understand that as part of the motion.
Are we replacing the investigation committee? This is operations.
It says in the event the investigative committee is unable to act. Thank you.
Thank you.
I move that in the event the investigative committee is unable to act due to lack of board membership, the operations committee is delegated the authority previously delegated to the investigative committee and chair of the investigative committee during the September 10th, 2020, should that be 2026 or
2025, it's the
25
previous
board.
ones.
Okay. The delegations include, but not limited to, the following authorities. Number one, to issue any license, certificate of qualification, or authorization to practice nursing. Two, conduct hearings, enter into settlement agreements, issue and amend decisions made against an applicant or licensee subject to the Kansas Nurse Practice Act or regulations adopted thereunder. Three, make reasonable grounds determinations regarding applications being investigated or having been investigated that are subject to the provisions of the Kansas Nurse Practice Act and regulations promulgated thereunder. Number four, act as presiding officer pursuant to the Kansas Administrative Procedures Act to review, decide, issue, and amend any order involving all applicants or licensees subject to the Kansas Nurse Practice Act and regulations adopted thereunder. Number five, investigate, issue decisions against the licensee or make reasonable grounds determinations regarding a licensee for failure to comply with the provisions of the nurse licensure compact. And number six, review and decide on any applicant's request to receive accommodations while taking a board-approved nurse licensure exam and or the NCLEX exam.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Michelle Terry, second.
Any discussion? Any abstentions? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed, no. Motion carries.
Okay, this next one, we can, have input here. So we're trying to think that the best way to still have hearings be possible if needed, thinking of the Administrative Procedures Act. If there is a 3-person committee currently operating as, or called the Operations Committee, we want that committee to be able to act on matters in front of it that would prevent you from hearing a case. So what we're proposing is it go to the Office of Administrative Hearings if needed, if the need arises. Just delegates that authority to send it out if there's a conflict within the committee. Okay. So if that's, if we need to amend that in any way, otherwise it's just a broad delegation to give you that authority to send it to the Office of Administrative Hearings if the need arises.
I move that the board delegate its authority to the Operations Committee to send any matter or proceedings that falls within the Kansas Administrative Procedures Act to the Office of Administrative Hearings.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
8 seconds.
Any discussion? Any abstentions? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed, no. Motion carries.
Okay, the next one, given the news that we received today about Carol and her intent to retire, we have a motion for interviewing and hiring an executive administrator, that should say administrator, sorry, slight correction. this will also state that whoever is reviewed and, if hired, they would meet the qualifications of the statute, which requires that position to be held by a registered nurse. So, if there's not any questions about that, we can move on.
My only question is, what happens if you don't get any applicants? I'm sorry.
We have more.
Provisions?
We have more.
I'm sure that there will, I mean, I'll save that for later, but okay.
I move that the board delegate its authority to interview and hire an executive administrator that meets the qualifications under KSA 74-1106 to the operations committee.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Shelter second.
Any discussion? Any abstentions? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
No. Motion carries.
This next one will address your question, Susan. This will be delegating to the Director of Operations in the event there is not an executive administrator in place. This is not changing his title due to the statutory requirements that it be a registered nurse. However, it does give him authority to act and then delegate nurse-related functions that Ms. Moreland takes. In her role as executive administrator currently, it would give him that ability to delegate where necessary. So functions could still continue within the staff. So this is a two-part motion. It's very intended to be broad, but if you have any questions, we can discuss the motion.
Any questions right now?
I move that in the event that the current executive administrator is unable to serve in that position for any reason, the director of operations shall serve in the place of the executive administrator until the executive administrator is hired and meets the requirements of KSA 74-1106. I further move that the director of operations be delegated all authority previously given to the executive administrator and shall have the authority to delegate functions requiring nursing experience to a staff member of the director of operations deems qualified. And I move that in the event the director of operations takes the place of the executive administrator and until a new executive administrator is selected, the director of operations be delegated authority to restructure agency functions and staff duties as deemed necessary to meet the current needs of the agency.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Pat second.
Any discussion? Any abstentions? All those in favor say yes. Yes. Anyone opposed? No. Motion carries.
Okay, this next one is for regulation amendment and promulgation. This is intended to be very broad in the event anything needs revised or promulgated as new as a result of any legislation or any changes just in general. So this is intended to be broad, but allow staff to continue, and then they would have the authority to just make the initial decisions, bring them to the operations committee, and then the operations committee would have the ability to review and approve.
Just ask how that works, though, like the process for any the process for regulation change updates seems to have been pretty detailed, timely to like work it through all of the et cetera, but now you have a statute that will then change, like, so how does that process work in real time for people to function?
There are the ability for temporary regs to be submitted for review and approval by another committee. To allow them to go into effect. It's a shortened process that allows them to go into effect in a quicker time frame. They are effective for 120 days. If approved, you can renew that one time, I believe, if needed, while you can submit the temporaries and the permanents at the same time. So the permanents are going through the process while hopefully your temporaries are in place.
Thank you. Any questions?
I move that the board to delegate the authority to staff to review and propose amendments to any rules or regulations promulgated by the board. I further move that the board delegate authority to the operations committee to review and decide whether to amend any rules or regulations promulgated by the board or promulgate new rules and regulations as allowed under board's prescribed statutory authority.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Shelter, second.
Any discussion? Any abstentions? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed, no. Motion carries.
This next one is just general functions of the operations committee. This again is an illustrative list, not an all-inclusive list. And it states that in the motion, but this is for other functions that other committees may take essentially that need to be continued from what we're seeing as a function of the board. This is things like site visits of programs, curriculum change, major curriculum changes, approving schools, reviewing programs with the conditions, things like long-term CNE provider renewals. Things that we are seeing that need to continue. But again, this is illustrative. This is not all of it.
So can I just ask, you have this committee, so I'm just thinking about the function of the committees that we have in place for those tasks that you just mentioned.
Right.
And recognizing the time of people, but we also then have committee members who have been appointed.
Right.
But without board members, you would not have a quorum for those committees. So I guess I just don't know how that would function, because clearly this committee of three would not be able to
Do the work.
attend and participate in every committee meeting. And so I just wondered, what do you do with those appointed committee members that are outside of the board? I guess, how does that?
So if there's not a majority of that committee that's able to do business, it just don't. Yeah, they're unable to at that point. So this is moving that authority essentially to the operations committee. We understand that's a large task. There is an option for delegating to staff as you deem necessary. We can add that as language into this motion. That is something we were able to do, and we can give that to the operations committee to include staff in the delegation as they deem fit to help with the work of the operations committee. Given everything that's going on and the position this board is going to be in, we're trying to ensure everything gets taken care of, and we understand this is a huge commitment. I just want to be sure the board is protected in its functions that are able to continue in the event it can. So I understand the burden, but I'm really trying to, like, our goal is to help you all the best way we can from a legal
I
perspective.
have a question though, like the education committee, there are so many non-board members that are on that committee. Can they continue to do all those site visits Janelle has every week scheduled, and she would need committee members with her? Is there any reason why they could not continue to do those site visits?
So what we could do, if you have a majority of that membership present, you can have a meeting of the majority of that committee. And then in the event there is not, it can go to you all.
But can they do the site visit,
So non-board members can continue
to do site visits?
to do work on the committees with the committee?
Do they do site
That's,
visits?
is that what you're
I
asking?
mean, like, how does that function? Yes, like,
Yeah,
so if you
so-
don't have a quorum for your committee to meet, but you have tasks of those committee members, can they continue to complete those tasks?
We can have another motion to delegate to them to be able to continue. I would feel safer doing that as far as authority wise, having a motion that essentially says the board delegates authority to committee members that are non-board members that have been previously delegated authority to act, be able to continue in that capacity. Something along those lines, I can get that written up really quick.
If they all agree to stay, yeah, that would be important.
Yeah,
Because you have a full agenda, I mean.
And honestly, there's no way we all work full time.
yes.
And we can't make site visits. That's why we weren't on that. We're limited to how frequently we can meet. Unfortunately, that's gonna fall on the decision they made to get rid of all this. And things are gonna fall through the cracks, and that's why I was asking. We're gonna be giving them updates because 3 people, and I'm not saying the others aren't gonna be here, 3 people can't do the job of 11.
But I'm willing to stay to help keep the board functioning because of all the important things that it does.
And
We
that's where I
just
think,
can't drop that.
No, and our intent behind this is not that you have to go completely beyond what resources are available and what time you have available. It's giving you authority should you need it to act in that capacity.
I just want it very clear they understand that we can't do the job for them.
so that, I mean, but that's where I think I just wanna make sure that the language is such, like, we recognize all the work that goes into it. Clearly, and so I just wanna make sure the language is such so that when you have functioning. Educated committee members who are aware, like, that you can continue to allow them to complete those tasks that they support as part of that committee.
The non-board, the non-board
Non-members.
Yes.
Yeah, how do we try to ensure that as good as possible so that that work can continue to be done? By folks who are educated and aware of how to come to work.
Yes, that's why we're, yeah, no, I'm
Yeah.
glad this discussion is happening because these are functions that we don't necessarily know about, and so we can amend, we can either do this one slightly amended, and then we can do another one specifically for non-board committee members.
Yes. Whatever keeps the
So
wheels turning.
is it reasonable to, we do need to break for lunch here.
Yeah, that'd be
Does that
this-
help you kind of allow some time to wordsmith some based on that additional information?
Yes.
Yeah, I do want to clarify, probably for practice committee and CNE, excuse me, and all those committees, it might be that it's when they meet that they would carry out that work, but for the education committee, they do all these site visits with Janelle in between those quarterly meetings. That's what I'm trying to protect, to make sure that those operations can continue with those non-board committee members.
We will get you some language
Thank
after
you.
lunch. How's that? Okay. Okay.
Any additional questions?
Is there anything else you can think of that we should account for right now? We can always do this later, but if there's anything I can work on right now.
I know the amount of preparation we have to make just for the investigation committee. But I can't, and I've worked on the continuing education one.
No.
Yeah, there's gonna have to be a lot of delegation for her to
that
do
one,
that
right.
because we have 400 pages
At least.
that we went through.
Yeah.
So just realistically,
Yeah.
we don't want to take on a position that we know we're going to fail at.
It would be maybe the CAE, that's the other thing, that's what we talk about, preparation. The education committee, yes, but a lot of that work is done outside of the meetings by the non-board.
And you may need to know what all they do. That you're,
Yeah, and I think we can make it broad enough right now that whatever the committee of 3 deems necessary can be delegated out.
Okay. So allow some time for that, and we'll go ahead and adjourn. To, you bring that we.
Yes.
So we'll adjourn for lunch and we will, start back up at, 12:20. Is that fine? 30 minutes. Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay. Thank you. I apologize. We're a little late coming back into session. So, we'll go ahead and, return ourselves to the meeting, picking back up on new business. And do we want to pick back up on that bill or that motion that we were discussing?
Yeah. We can do that. So we've done a couple of revisions here, so. The motion we're ready for now is still gonna be for functions of the operations committee, but it's contingent upon a subcommittee not having committee membership to conduct business. And then also delegating authority to, the operations committee to delegate to staff as they deem necessary any functions. So,
Well, some more information came up concerning our deadline.
okay.
April.
Well,
Did I not get that right?
I think there's just a question maybe about, I think there's just a question about the timing of which even the members that have said that they would be on this committee, like at what point is any board member, you get their duties currently, June 1st, July 1st, like that sets the tone of like when an additional meeting could occur. And then I think, yeah, I mean, I think that's the main question, because then I guess clearly for those that are informed and knowledgeable, if they've continued, they could then request for the appointment from the governor's office, and that would be up to the governor to then reappoint for that short timeline until January. So I think there's just maybe just clarification of like, what is the timeline, even potentially for, like, what we're specifically talking about for this committee potential is June 1st or July 1st? I think it's, do we know that?
I don't have the current language. Last I knew it was in conference committee. Is that accurate, or it was going back to conference committee?
I heard it was in conference committee, probably for signature only, but you never know.
Yeah, so, once we,
Yes, Andy.
Is the question about the effective date on the board, is that the date that we're questioning?
I believe so.
Is that what the
Yes,
question is?
yeah.
So my understanding is that the dates in the amended bill will show July 1
July.
of 26. And then there will be several dates will be changed to that, and then there'll be the January 127 will be for a new board.
Right, okay.
Does that answer the question?
Yes, I believe it did. It just, we're sort of setting this into place for,
Our worst case scenario.
yes. Yeah. So that, I mean, so it's a short, I mean, clearly it's a short time, so.
If I may,
Please.
that is why the first motion creating the committee had contingencies essentially for staff to come in when there's no longer a committee able to operate.
But not our regular board meetings. This would be an addition.
Well, there's potential for a singular, I mean, if that, there is,
No, I just want total clarification,
yeah, I mean,
because
there's
it's a lot to carry. And we are delegating to the staff.
Yes.
So that's the only,
And as I mentioned before, this isn't from the motion language and the requirement that there is some authority here for delegation, and also these are contingency plans for things not being able to function. But we also understand that everybody's got their own lives and schedules that they have to work with, and they have other commitments. They have this commitment, obviously, but We also understand the load and the burden that this would put on the individuals who are willing to keep on this operations committee. And our intent is to give as much flexibility as we can, but also if it is needed, these functions can happen. So.
Question. Okay. So we would move to the motion that we stopped off on.
Yeah. So I move that in the event a subcommittee of the board does not have a majority of committee membership to conduct business, that the board delegate authority to the operations committee to perform any functions from a subcommittee that the operations committee deems necessary. I further move that the operations committee be delegated the authority to delegate committee functions to the staff as deemed necessary.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Michelle's for a second.
Any questions? Any abstentions? All those in favor say yes. Yes. Anyone opposed? No. Motion. Yeah, it's a good question. What's next on the list?
So there was a question about non-board committee members. This addresses allowing non-board committee members to continue their functions as committee members that have already been delegated to them.
I move that non-board committee members shall have the authority to continue committee functions that have already been delegated to those non-board committee members.
You have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Any abstentions? All those in favor say yes. Yes. Anyone opposed? No. Motion carries.
And this is our last one potentially. This is ensuring compliance with HB 2528, whatever it looks like in its final form. This allows the operations committee to make decisions regarding the board's compliance with an implementation of that bill. Again, there's a list. It is not an inclusive list, is an illustrative list that is intended to give an idea of what those functions may be, but should other functions be necessary, they are still able to be done.
I move that the board delegates its authority to the operations committee to make decisions regarding the board's compliance with and implementation of House Bill 2528. The following list of decisions the operations committee may make is intended to be illustrative of the authority of the operations committee, not an inclusive list. 1, review all cases that may be voided as a result of HB 2528. 2, review and make decisions regarding any reports or notifications that need to be made to any person or entity regarding voided cases. 3, review and make decisions on notices regarding voided cases. 4, review and make decisions regarding any publication required by HB 2528. 5, delegate authority to staff as necessary for compliance with and implementation of HB 2528. And 6, review any matter and make any other decisions necessary to ensure compliance with and the implementation of House Bill 2528.
You have a motion. Is there a second?
Michelle Terry, second.
Any discussion? Any abstentions? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
No. Motion carries.
Thank you all. If there is a question that you all have about process that has been set forth in these motions, you may reach out to us as council or, your team of Carol and Adrian, and they can coordinate with us. And we can help resolve any process issues that there may be.
Was there anything else that, as we completed those motions, I know we had some discussion before we went to lunch about tasks and roles in order to complete the work. Any other issues or concerns that have come up as you thought them through that would need to be delegated to the community?
Madam President, I have a question as far as our emails and communication. Whether we resign or our positions are terminated. Will those emails be turned off immediately so it doesn't look like we're ignoring messages or do we need to send and have a email set to respond to emails so that people know this is no longer an active account that's being managed?
I think Adrian, you wanna?
If I may comment from my role as IT manager. Typically what we do is we archive the messages and then disable the accounts relatively soon unless it's a like a critical type position. So to say, for example, if I was to depart, I would need to forward for a while to get bills and those sorts of things. But typically with board members, we sundown those accounts so that we can, it also saves us some money too. So that's how we do it.
And then is there a way, I don't know that we need a motion, but if communication that needs to be answered in a timely manner or to arrive at the board office in our names, will somebody be contacting us or can we direct board staff to open those and get that to us in a timely manner?
Yes, you can.
Because I understand there's some things that we would have 15 days to protect ourselves. And if we don't know it's here, we would not have 15 days to take the right actions we may want to have for ourselves.
You can direct to board staff to open mail address to board members or former board members. And notify them of any correspondence that's received in their name.
And they would all have our personal contact information to reach out to us. I just worry if they were to forward it in the mail, I know the things that are taking over a month to get from point A to point B in the mail. I
would say best practice may be to provide staff with your most recent contact information, phone number, emails, addresses. That way they have a current list of ways to contact you.
Thank you.
Maybe send those to Jill. She keeps a little bit more.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or legal counsel or this process for delegation? Thank you both for being here. Appreciate. It's a sign that our meeting should be over, I think. Yeah, thank you all for your assistance today. So, right. Yes.
If I might, some of you said that you wanted a contact in the governor's office in case you wanted to talk to them. Do you have something to write this down on? If you wanted. I can send it by email, but are all of you gonna have her email address? That's my only concern, that I'll do it however you want it done. Her name is Melissa. She's actually the appointment secretary over there. Melissa King. And her phone number is 785-581-4734. Again, that's 785-581-4734. And her, I'm sorry, her email address is melissa.king@ks.dev.
How do you spell Melissa?
MELISSA. ks.dev. But she is the appointment secretary and that was the name that was given to us for you to contact.
And then there was the,
The attorney,
Oh, Robert Hutchinson.
we really do need his information, Benjamin.
I prefer that. I will give that individually.
I'll see if I can find it in my email address. Do you guys, would you have his email address and his phone number? They probably have it easier than me.
Yep. I will send that to you right now.
Okay.
Thank you, Sarah. So I believe we have reached the end of our agenda. Comments? So I might, if I may, just close our meeting with a couple words today. Today is a good example that public service is not easy. At times it asks more of us than we ever expected. As board members, we have always understood that our role is to serve the people of Kansas, even when the path forward is not simple. I want to express my gratitude to the staff of the Kansas State Board of Nursing. Your dedication in nursing regulation and your unwavering commitment to public protection have been the foundation of this agency's work. Through challenge, scrutiny, and uncertainty, you have remained professional, focused, and resilient. So I think it's safe to speak on behalf of the board. Thank you for your work that you do every day to protect the citizens of Kansas. We appreciate you. I also want to recognize our executive administrator. For 9 years, Carol has led this agency with strength and integrity. She has carried much of the criticism directed toward the board and continued to lead with professionalism. I also want to take a moment to thank my fellow board members. Serving on this board is a significant commitment, one that often goes unseen. Each of you have given your time, your expertise, and your thoughtful judgment to decisions that directly impact public safety and the nursing profession across Kansas. You have approached this work with integrity, professionalism, and a genuine commitment to following the statutes created by the legislature and doing what you thought was right, even in the face of difficulty. It has been an honor to serve alongside each of you. To the nurses in Kansas, thank you. Your work is not easy, especially in a time when nursing education and the role of nurses in healthcare is devalued. You serve on the front lines, caring for individuals and families in their most critical moments, and we are grateful for all that you do. As we look ahead, we recognize the road forward may be challenging. The Kansas State Board of Nursing has a long and proud history of serving this state, and I believe it will continue to do so, adapting, evolving, and ultimately emerging stronger in its mission. To the next board, whoever that may be, I wish you wisdom, steadiness, and success in carrying this important responsibility forward. So thank you to all my colleagues here on the board. I think that things will look different face-wise at our next meeting. But she did all that we've done. So we will adjourn today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.